You are listening to the Bastards of Boston Baseball, and it is over. The Red Sox are out. Shut out by the Yankees, 5-0. The Red Sox did not have an extra base hit all night long. No runners touched third base. Bad defense. Everything that was not good about the Red Sox culminated in this final game of the series, and we are going to get into all of it. I am Terry Cushman, joined tonight by Doug Aitchison, Chris Felico. I'm not going to ask you guys how you are. We already know. So let's lead off with Chris. What were your thoughts on the night and perhaps the 3-game set and perhaps the whole season?
Um, I mean, I wish I could say I was shocked. I wasn't. I picked the Yankees in 2. I'm more shocked that I feel like the Sox could have won this series because I truly do believe, like I heard our show last night, that there was the sentiment that the Yankees won yesterday. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think we made enough plays to give it to them yesterday, but it doesn't matter. They more than earned it today. And I kind of expected it going into it. I think the most disappointing thing about this is, I've been saying for weeks I would have rather not made the playoffs than play the Yankees, which it looked like we would, and lose. And, there was the sentiment of, well, there's a lot of kids on the team, a lot of, players on this team that don't have postseason experience, and like, let them get the experience. That's more valuable. Well, the people that we would have wanted to get the experience didn't show up. In fact, I think there's only 4 players I would thank for their performance in the 3-game set: Garrett Crochet, Nick Sogard, Trevor Story, and Masataka Yoshida, who didn't even play for the majority of the season, came in pitch hitting situations, and then, did his most today with the opportunity. Everyone else didn't show up, point blank. And it's disappointing, but again, I wish I could say I was shocked. I think the part that really sucks, because listen, I'm one of those people, I hate losing to the Yankees more than the Red Sox winning. Then I enjoy that. I don't know why. It's probably sick, but it's just truth. And this is the worst Red Sox team that we've had in the last 20 years they've seen in the playoffs. So they should have beaten us, and I expected they would. But now that it sets in and you realize, like, that, of course the Yankees throw out a rookie, guy throws 8 scoreless shutouts innings. It feels like 2003 again. And I know that sounds crazy because we've won 4 World Series and they haven't really won since 2009, but everything kind of lined up for them. They had this magical night, and it feels like pre-World Series Red Sox again, where everything goes the Yankees' way. And I know that probably sounds overly dramatic, but how could you not feel that way? I hear so many people out there like, oh, it's such a bright future for the Red Sox. Why? Because we have Garrett Crochet. That did nothing for us this series. In a series that was set up that we should have been able to have our best chance at the Yankees with Garrett Crochet in a best of 3. In a best of 7, you want to talk about an ass kicking we would have gotten. Maybe we win 2 because Garrett Crochet gets another start. It's a big if. It's a lot to ask of one individual. This team is not set up to perform going into the playoffs. Not in a best of 7, not to compete for a World Series. Garrett Crochet isn't enough, guys. He just isn't. And we go, oh, but Roman Anthony. Well, Roman Anthony's hurt. We don't even know what that's going to look like when he comes back. Marcelo Meyer, always hurt. Carlos Narvaez, completely no-show for the second half of the season. And in big spots in the playoffs, I think he was no for the whole series, outside of the, 3-walk performance that we all applauded in Game 1. I mean, I can go on and on. Connerly Early, I mean, he's not Cam Schlittler. We know that at this point. Tolley, yeah, could throw 100 miles an hour. What big leaguer can't? Doesn't matter. So I don't know where we go from here at this point, but if the Sox are going to continue to put out this type of product, this is going to be our ceiling. Teams like this. And yeah, it was fun, but it's not fun when your season ends and it's against the New York freaking Yankees.
Doug.
I still think our ceiling is higher than this. I think we were losing a lot of pitchers. We were losing Dobbins. We were losing Houck. We were losing Giolito. We were losing, Roman Anthony. We were losing a lot of guys that I still do think our future is pretty looks pretty good, and I think. And I think I disagree. I would still rather make the playoffs. I mean, we haven't made the playoffs in years. We've been calling for it every year. You gotta make steps to get to a better team, and you gotta progress. And this year was progress. I mean, we had a better year. We made the playoffs. We took steps forward, and it's losing to the Yankees. It sucks. Nothing's worse than that. But I still do think it is experience. I think these young guys got to experience, popping champagne bottles at Fenway. That was probably, one of the best nights of their lives being able to do that. And I think that makes them want more of that. And I do believe this team has a lot of future, a lot of bright side in its future. This wasn't the team that was going to win the World Series. I think we all know that. It would have been nice to beat the Yankees just to make sure they weren't going to win the World Series. Not that I think they will, but this series was lost with Jarren Duran dropping that fly ball last night. I truly believe that. I think that it all points back to that. That game could have been completely different. That was the game we should have won. Tonight was going to be tough. And I said last night, I believe in our pitching. It's not our pitching I was worried about. It was our hitting. And it was pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. You can't blame. I mean, early was fine. Early pitched good. No, this kid's not going to go out there and throw a shutout. I said last night, you need more than 4 runs to win a playoff game. They got 4 tonight, and it was enough for them because it's just pathetic. It's just we couldn't get a guy on second base the whole game. We couldn't get anything against a rookie. And, yeah, he pitched well. He had pretty good stuff. But to just come out with your backs against the wall where we've been a resilient team all season. So I really went into tonight thinking it's a total 50-50 toss-up. And they just came like they weren't ready to play, and they came like they didn't have any urgency. The Yankees played with urgency, and I'm not going to call this season a failure. I think we had a lot of ups and downs this season. I think we had a lot of things go wrong. A lot of injuries, a lot of things that hurt us that I think we're overlooking. And I think there's things to build on going into next year.
To me, we lost this series because some guy named Nate Eaton had to start 2 of those games. Some guy named Nick Sogard had to start at least one of them. 2 of them, actually. I think he did start tonight. You lost this game because you had this series rather, because you had to rely on a 22-year-old who none of us had ever heard of 6 weeks ago. He had to be your game 3 starter. You lost this series because you traded your best hitter in the month of June. All right. Everybody says Devers is a clubhouse cancer. That wasn't a thing prior to this season, and it wasn't even a thing this season. Okay. Devers owns Yankee Stadium. He hit his first career home run in Yankee Stadium off of Aroldis Chapman. He mashes in this stadium. If he's in the lineup all 3 games, you're playing the Blue Jays on Saturday night. You lost this series because you got an incompetent executive in that front office who did not do his job. You had tons of holes. And Doug, I know you say the future is bright, but Romy Gonzalez isn't the future. Maybe Carlos Narvaez is, but he only had a good month and a half or so. Wilyer Abreu is still a platoon guy. That never got resolved. He's going to be a platoon guy next year. I mean, that's what he is now because that's what he had to be to get this team into the postseason. We didn't really improve on him. There were so many failures that prevented us from having a deep playoff run. You could have went and got Eugenio Suarez. You could have added another bat. None of our big 3, you put way too many eggs into the big 3 basket before the season started. Not one of them played an inning in the postseason. And I kind of agree with Chris because Craig Breslow is going to have his end of the year press conference in a day or 2, typically. Or maybe they'll wait till Monday at this point. I don't know. and he's going to say, you know, how special this team was and how proud of them when they didn't really have a chance. I mean, you scored 6 runs in the whole series. And the pitching wasn't the problem. It really wasn't. But, you know, you shouldn't have had to have turned to Connolly early. You should have made a move at the deadline. And the only guy who shoved was Crochet. And, you know, a lot of the Bresbians, as I call them, you know, they point out, well, he traded for Crochet. He traded for no, he signed Bregman, and he signed Chapman. I can only give Breslow so much credit for that. You had the Fort Knox of farm systems to go get Crochet, and you only did it when you lost out on Max Fried. Okay, so yeah, you know, the White Sox essentially got to pick their package. Breslow sent him. We got Crochet. Any GM could have done that. It wasn't this brilliant move from out of nowhere. Alex Bregman ended up being an overpay. It is what it is. And finally, with Chapman, you know, he might be a top 5 greatest closer of all time. And, you know, so it wasn't some, again, not some brilliant move out of nowhere. I just, you know, making the wild card series, I mean, just gave this front office the illusion that this team was good. And it was so flawed. And in the end, we were the team that we thought we were.
You think that they look at it as such a difference, them getting smoked by the Yankees like this and not making it?
I just think if we didn't make it, there would have been some urgency this winter. But I think what we're going to get is Casas is my first baseman. Well, if Bregman opts out, we're going to get Meyer as our third baseman. We're probably not going to make a big splash move for the rotation, I wouldn't think. And here's food for thought. If Giolito doesn't opt out, he's going to have elbow surgery. Well, that's what's going to happen there. So I think us making the postseason gives the Red Sox front office the excuse to not make strong moves this winter.
I see it both ways, you know, because listen, I don't, there's a ton of what Doug said, and it's not that I don't agree with him. I just see it differently, because the truth is, yes, if everything goes right, I agree with Doug, there's a bright future. But I think there's enough cloudiness that it's not clear that it's just this foregone conclusion that there's going to be sunshine. I think if we didn't make the playoffs, you could make the same argument, Terry, that the Red Sox would feed us the same bullshit. Oh, well, we didn't make it because Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Casas, whoever, and we would get that story anyway. To play devil's advocate to your point, Doug, I could make the argument, and I'm not saying this will happen because I fully expect the Sox to do nothing. That's the point I'm at, until they do something. You could make the argument that maybe the Yankees now putting us in a position where we're kind of back to pre-World Series Red Sox, where they are clearly the better team. We don't even have – listen, they've been dominant over us for the last decade in the regular season, and I can't even say playoffs because we haven't really played them with the exception of 2021. Now that we have been beaten by them, and we can't even have that in our back pocket, because that was our argument with any Yankees fan for the last 10 years, right? Like, oh, well, yeah, you beat us every year, but can't beat us in the playoffs. Well, that's happened. They beat us. Maybe that's something that could wake up the Red Sox and make them realize. I don't think that will. I think there's a better chance in that potential argument than missing the playoffs, because they haven't cared missing the playoffs. That's clear. We've missed it 4 of the last 5 of the last 6 years, and they've done nothing. So, you know, the other thing is I keep hearing about our pitching and their pitching. Here's the reality. With the exception of their blip on the radar from their super pen, their starters outperformed our starters, with the exception of Garrett Crochet. And even in that game, it's not like Max Fried didn't pitch a good game. He was flawless. He just didn't last as long as Crochet. But Rodon, as poor as he was, better than Bayo. And then Cam Schlittler may have been the best pitcher in this whole damn series. Yeah, Crochet went 117, but he gave up a run. Cam Schlittler completely shut us down in a winner-take-all game where your back's against the wall and someone's going home. And he sent us home. So, yeah, Connor Lairley, yeah, he didn't pitch poorly. But you know what? We're like, well, you can't expect. Well, the Yankees expected. I'm sure they didn't expect him to go 8 shutout innings, but he did. Why couldn't early? Yeah, you know what? And I was the first one to say it in the war room. Can't expect a kid to have to get 4 outs. Not fair to him. And I still believe that. But he didn't have to completely implode after that. Yeah, we made some boneheaded plays in the field. You also don't have to give up hits. You could strike someone out. You could put in a position where it's an in-ball, infield pop-up. And I get it. It's not necessarily realistic to expect it, but the Yankees got it. At what point, whether it's pitching, hitting, either side, is someone just going to step up that's not named Crochet on a consistent basis for this team? And even Masataka Yoshida, like, I never would have thought I would say this a month ago. There's not many players I want to see on this team next year. Masataka Yoshida is one of them at this point. How could you not? The guy showed up in big moments, and he's kind of quietly been a Yankee killer in Yankee Stadium for the last couple of seasons. Outside of Crochet, Yoshida, Roman Anthony, Chapman, I mean, we're going to have either way. Who do you want to see in this team long-term? And honestly, the long-term contracts that we've signed for, like, Cedar Rafaela, Bayo. Like, Bayo, think about, we were talking about, oh my God, brilliant contract. He's finally our number 2. In the regular season, maybe, but in a big spot, he's not our number 2. And even though we got him on the cheap, quote unquote, if at best in a big spot, he's going to be a 3 or 4, we overpaid. As good as that contract looks, because guess what? Teams get 3 or 4s every year for a hell of a lot cheaper and a lot less years. That is the reality. So sometimes these long-term contracts when guys are young aren't great moves. Yeah, it's great for the Braves, but they're also in Atlanta. They're not in Boston. So I've praised it. We've all praised it in some sort of moment, but I think it's at some point we got to realize, like, we're a big market team. We got to act like a big market team at some point. Again, if we're going to get back in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think saying you don't have to give up hits is a little strong. I mean, it's a playoff game in Yankee Stadium. You're going to give up hits. Every pitcher's going to give up hits. You got to just. I don't blame Early for this at all, and I agree that our future isn't some guaranteed sunshine, but it's also not some dark cloud either. Like, we were 6 games out of the best record of the American League, even with everything that we're saying. It's not like we were some crap team. I think that's a little. I don't see it as some dark cloud like we're heading, like we're gonna plummet right now.
I don't blame Early, just for the record. So if it came off that way, that's not what I'm saying. But, and I'm not saying there's a dark cloud. What I'm saying is it's hazy. And I can't confidently tell you there's a sunshine at the other side. If everything goes right, I agree with you. There's more bright than dark. But there's not enough signs for me over the course of the last 5 years, and even this year, to say that I have confidence that there's going to 100% be sunshine at the end of this. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's unfair.
No, it's not.
If the Devers move didn't end up being a salary dump and we made moves,
right,
and with some of them potentially being moves where you had a controllable guy, like for instance, I wanted a Fernando Tatis type guy. That was a pipe dream. San Diego was never going to trade him. But if you made a similar move, see, I don't trust the philosophy of ownership, and I don't trust the searching for the word. I don't trust the competency of Craig Breslow. So that's why I think the short term could be cloudy. All the moves Breslow made were before the season started, and I listed them all in my opening take. What did he do after the season started? Nothing. There's nothing to suggest he can handle the day-to-day stuff. And one of the really damning things that came out at the deadline, well, just after it, was when Bob Nightingale basically confirmed what I've been saying all along. Other GMs don't like dealing with Craig Breslow. Okay. The guy's an arrogant prick and he's got nothing to back it up with. Like, it's not like he's got a couple of rings now and, and his shit don't stink. I mean, so that's why if Breslow gets fired tomorrow, I'm back. Assuming
Fair, yeah.
we bring in someone that's done something. Go get Zach Scott. He was in the Red Sox front office for I think like 14, 15 years. Go get a guy like him. I'm just
with you.
don't.
I don't trust him. I want him gone.
I don't think we're gonna get there with Breslow, and I'll say it forever. He was their 11th choice. They got told no. I had a list on my desk for a year with exactly 10 executives, all respected, all decorated, and they all said no. And then Breslow became the guy. And at the beginning of the winter, before they even started that search, they wanted Breslow to come in and be the pitching analytics guy. And maybe he would have had an assistant GM role doing that. But after all those people said no, Breslow became the guy. And so they've got a PR problem. I don't think it would be hard to fire him and think you can attract, a smart executive that's got a good reputation. So that's what I'm stuck on. That's what I'm stuck on.
Well, listen, I want him gone too. If they're going to actually replace him, because to be honest, we replaced Chaim Bloom with Chaim Bloom in a different version of him, with maybe a slightly different philosophy. What the crazy thing is, like, I'm just looking at some of the stats here. The Yankees only hit one more home run than we did. We only hit one this whole series. So it's like we can't even say that it was the Yankee power that outshined us. I mean, they played the game we wanted to. They just did it better than us, and they made less mistakes. And their mistakes weren't even necessarily the same types of mistakes, right? Like Boone left the pitcher in for too long or took one out too early in a game. Meanwhile, we look like a little league team. Their errors are dropping balls in foul territory, but then managing to get out of it. Ours are in the field of play, letting runs score. And that was, to me, the biggest difference here. And gosh, to me, the real big fix for this team long-term is ownership. And I know it's not going to happen, but like, you look at the Mets and they're, they get Steve Cohen, who wants to win. And I truly believe he wants to. He's a Mets fan. Where he went wrong is he came in there guns blazing, wants to spend the money, but then gets a little league, or I shouldn't say a little league, a small market GM. Like, he goes to the Brewers. What he should have done is handed a blank check to like a Dave Dombrowski and been like, hey, leave my rival for unlimited amounts of money. And I know that you can't legally do that, but you get the point. Is go out there and get a guy like that with your money that's going to go and buy you championships and use the money wisely. Like, you don't want to emulate the Brewers. You're the New York Mets. They can't be the Mets because they don't have the money. The Sox need to go out there and find a new owner at some point. And I know it sounds simple, and I'm making it sound simple, but I mean, just John Henry, if you ever hear this, if I get you printing money with this team, but you could print money with so many other teams. Sell us to somebody, go buy another team, go buy an F1 team or a golf league, and go print money there. You won your 4 world championships. Congratulations. You did do something right, so I don't want to take that away from you. But if you don't give a crap about anything else, for this team, let someone buy it that does and put us back in the spot that we should be. Because to be honest, we could sit here, we talk about Breslow, we could talk about Alex Cora, because listen, he was outclassed in this series in a couple of different ways as well after game 1. All of that doesn't matter if we don't fix the real problem, John Henry, because it all starts with him. His executives in between him and the GM suck. His GMs, 11th choice, 13th choice, whoever choice, picked by AI bots, they suck. The players they bring in, they suck. And not all of them, but the majority as a collective unit, they're not good enough. Johnny F is reminding he does have a golf league, so he'll have to find something else, Johnny. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean it's it's tough to call for a new owner, but I mean I think we would all agree it's just like that. Do you guys see Breslow and Cora both being back?
So there's no way under the sun Breslow can fire Cora. The only way Cora leaves is if Breslow gets fired too, because it would be really difficult for Red Sox ownership to make the new guy keep Cora, which I think might have been a big problem the first time. Why would a new executive want to come in and have to have a manager that's more popular with them and possibly might have more influence with ownership? So I think Cora would have to go if they fired Breslow. Now, put the shoe on the other foot. Did we lose this season? Did we get eliminated so early because of Cora's bad managing or because of Breslow's lack of moves?
Yeah, I'd say
the
it's more on
season?
the roster than on Cora.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if Breslow fired Cora, that would backfire on him big time.
Yeah. There was rumors earlier, like in the season, I feel like about like a Brad Stevens type of move where he goes from coach to GM.
I'd hate that.
Right?
Yeah,
Do you remember hearing that?
A
I feel
whirlwind
like
rumor for a bit.
yeah.
And that could happen. I don't think we can rule that out because, again, who doesn't want the job? Who wants the job right now? No one that we know of. And later, earlier on in the season, you weren't here yet, Doug, but I talked about how in 2015, when the Red Sox got Dombrowski, it was worked out behind the scenes mid-season. And then it just kind of came together, and that's how Sherrington was out. If Dombrowski didn't want the job for some reason, Sherrington probably stays on for another year or so. But because that guy became available and he expressed interest, it happened. I don't know who's expressing interest right now in working for John Henry and Sam Kennedy. I would love it if they did. One thing they could do, which would have been similar to the Dombrowski Sherrington thing, say, I don't know who a candidate would be. Let's just say Kim Eng. I don't really want to think she wouldn't be my first choice. Let's put it that way. She'd be an upgrade over Breslow. Don't get me wrong. And she's probably, qualified. But let's just say we're bringing her in and she's gonna be the, the Larry Lucchino guy over Breslow. Breslow would probably quit. So that's one way to force him out. And that's technically what did happen to Sherrington. He was still going to keep a spot, but Dombrowski was going to come in and call all the shots. So Sherrington was like, no, I'm not doing it. And nobody can blame him for that. But I don't see them making a move without something already in the chamber.
Yeah, I just don't see a move in general at this point. And to go to Cora, because I don't know if you guys have picked up on this, but at least I've noticed in a lot of the national games, and then obviously this playoff series, it's been a lot of chatter of like Cora really loving this team, these players, and them, talking about how similar they are to really him. And we've been saying on the podcast for a while, this is like a team built of a bunch of Alex Cora's platoon players that play really hard, want to win, do certain things great, but at the end of the day, constructing them as a baseball team is not going to necessarily get you anywhere when it comes to wanting to win, specifically a World Series. You need a couple of them on your team, just like Alex Cora was on a World Series team, but the team wasn't a bunch of Alex Coras. We still had Big Poppy. We had Manny Ramirez. We had tons of guys on that team. But, gosh, I don't even know who a good candidate would be at this point. Yeah, I agree. Ang would obviously be an upgrade over Brezzo. I mean, any one of the three of us would be an upgrade over Brezzo at this point. But, yeah, I don't know. Kind of this is where I'm at a loss. Losing the Yankees not at a loss. I expected it 3 days ago. But now that it's actually happened and thinking about the offseason and all the things that need to happen so that we're not here again, no clue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm by no way like a Cora hater. I'm not like a Cora guy, but I do think it's time for him to go. I just think with a young team now, there's no one left from 18. Like this isn't really his team anymore. I think it's time for him to go. Maybe bring in a younger manager. Like a lot of teams are going with like really recently retired guys, and they seem to be pretty successful. Maybe we can look into that route, get a younger guy in for a young team that we have. But I think it is time to make a move.
I'd rather go with an older guy, to be honest. There's a recent record of it happening. I mean, Brian Snitker was well into his 60s when he won a title. Bruce Bochy, it was in his 70s. Dusty Baker, 70s. Actually, Bochy might have been late 60s. And I wouldn't necessarily go with those guys, but
yeah, I hear you though.
Just someone that can command respect. I mean, Joe Madden kind of aged out. He couldn't really adapt to the younger crowd. And I think Joe Girardi was the same way in the end with the Phillies. So you can't go that route. I've always been a Buck Showalter guy, and perhaps maybe he's not the best choice at this point, but just someone that can really get the team in line and playing well. And
we don't want Showalter. I watched him with a much better Mets team do absolutely nothing here in New York.
The Mets have like a terminal culture problem. There's just always culture problems there.
We don't now, Terry?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we got a philosophical problem, but I think the culture in the clubhouse, I think the vibe is good in the clubhouse. I think they all support each other.
I meant more like as an organization, more front office, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I wouldn't, I don't, yeah.
Even though I picked the Tigers to win, which they did, I was kind of hoping they'd lose so we'd have a shot at Hinge if somehow they fired him.
That would be amazing.
It's not going to happen though now. So
no. And who do the Tigers play? The Mariners?
Correct.
Yeah. Rest in peace. I think, well, who knows? I mean, if the Mariners come out cold, anything could happen, but I just don't trust that Tigers team. Especially the bullpen, but yeah, I think we're going to be in for a really frustrating winter. I think there's going to be a lot of names on the board to start with. They're all going to start flying off, and we're going to be like, what the hell are we doing? And, in theory, if you had Crochet, Bayo, let's pretend Giolito doesn't need Tommy John. You could have Dobbins back. You could have Early. You could have Tolley. You could make the case that that might work. I think Houck it wouldn't be until super late, August or September, with the time. I think
I'm not saying he's like gonna come back and be, but maybe.
I think he's more 2027.
Is it really? Oh, okay,
yeah. He could conceivably come back in August or September, but it won't be.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll be a valuable piece out of the pen if he comes back for at least the remainder of the year.
Maybe.
I think that's kind of where he should be anyway. But
yeah, I agree.
Even if Giolito comes back, here's what we're forgetting: who else is coming back? He doesn't play for the Red Sox. Cole. Garrett Cole will come back, and he will be on the Yankees. And could you imagine if this year he was healthy, even if we had Giolito, you want to have to, without Devers, we're going to face Garrett Cole, Max Fried, and Rodon as their third starter. And that's without them adding anyone. Lord knows. And now they have Schlittler. I mean, let's be honest. You could easily bump Schlittler if he continues this. ahead of Rodon. Rodon's their fourth starter at that point. I don't care who we put out there. If we don't add pitching to this team isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to add one or two pieces and to the rotation. You need 2 or 3 bats. And if you have let's say you add 2 or 3 bats and then all of the big 3 become studs, okay? Then you've got trade capital at the deadline. So I
think we need a big bat more than a big pitcher. I think we need a big home run hitter in the lineup more than we need anything.
We don't have that guy. I mean, literally, Romy Gonzalez was your best hitter for the last 2 months of the year, and he completely shit the bed. He had 1 hit, which was tonight, and it was a single. And so you can't do that. And I think Duran will be better next year than he was this year. I
hopefully
think
for another team.
I was gonna say, you think he's gonna be on the team?
I hope not.
I don't know, but I
think Christian Campbell's gonna be our starting left fielder next year.
Fair enough. I mean, it's kind of
I do like Duran though. I'm not like I do like Duran, and if he's back, I'd be fine with it. He didn't have as good as a year as last year, but his numbers aren't like a bad. You wouldn't look at his numbers this year and say that's a bad year.
His numbers weren't bad, but the thing is, we know they're never going to get better, and his age is going to play against him with the things that he does well. And the problem is like this was his first taste of the playoffs. And I get it; someone could have a bad playoff, but the things that he did in these playoffs, like that happens in the regular season, and it gets covered up because when you play bad teams in the regular season, you can overcome them. You are never going to overcome his mistakes in the playoffs, whether it's the Yankees, the Tigers, the Guardians, the Mariners, Blue Jays, insert whatever team it is. And it's only going to get worse. And with him without speed, could you imagine? He could barely close in on balls playing defense with his speed. Take that away from him. I mean, a grossly below average defender. And then you're taking away his greatest gift when he gets on the base pads, when he actually does, because he was another 0-for in the series as well, I believe. So, again, I mean, listen, I guess trading him now, his value is going to be in an all-time low. It would have been good to probably do it last offseason, but so many things depend. Like, who else? Because Abreu, he's another one we got to talk about. I don't necessarily think he's anything more than a platoon dynasty player when healthy. But to me, Duran, he's got to be some of the change of this team. And I like Duran as a human being. I like him when he's playing his game well, but it's not often enough in big moments. It just isn't.
I mean, moves can get made. There's a million different moves you can make here to try to improve it. And there's a bunch of kids you can kind of put some stock in. So it's just, it's going to be a complicated offseason, which gives me even more pessimism that Breslow is going to be the guy handling it. But I think he'll be better than he was. I think he'll be better in 2026 than he was in 2025. I'm talking about Duran.
Yeah.
I just want to share like this observation. We're talking about managers, and I'm looking at the bracket right now. Here's the American League side when it comes to managers. So you've got AJ Hinch in Detroit. I would say he's young. Stephen Vogt in Cleveland, definitely young. Alex Cora still young. I'll still say Boone is young. He's probably mid to late 50s, but that's still relatively young. Chris Schneider in Toronto, definitely young. And I don't even know who's managing the the Mariners. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I don't know who replaced Service. So all young guys on the American League side. Now let's go over to the National League. Terry Francona, mid to late 60s with the Reds. Dave Roberts, I would say, is getting relatively old right now. Probably, I don't know, mid to late 50s. And he's been that manager forever.
Yeah.
Mike Schultz is a relatively old guy for the San Diego Padres. Rob Thompson for the Phillies is I'd say he's right around 60. Pat Murphy for the Brewers is in his 60s, and Craig Counsell, I would say, is relatively young, and he's the lone kind of young-ish guy on that side. So you get the National League with older managers, American League with younger ones.
Yeah, it's
I think
interesting.
I think the National League's going to win it, but I don't think that's why. Obviously, here's one other scenario that could play out, maybe. But again, now I think about it, it makes more sense if Breslow's gone. But you could trade Alex Cora. Like if Dave Dombrowski wants him, I think Alex Cora would love to manage the Philadelphia Phillies. So that's one thing that could happen. That's how we got John Farrell, by the way. I've mentioned that a number of times. We traded Mike Aviles for him, and that's how you got him. So I don't know what happens, but John Henry's not going to have any home games. He's not going to have any playoff games, at Fenway Park to cash in on this season. So I'm clinging to the small hope that maybe Craig Breslow won't be there by the middle of next week.
That'd be great.
I mean, I would love it. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I would. Yeah.
I mean, that's about the only good news I got today is that the deposit on the ALDS tickets that they made me pay for will be coming back to my bank account.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
When
do you think we hear from? When do you think we hear from Bregman?
Well, he's got it's a certain number of days. It's like 7 to 10 days after the World Series, so he'll have that time.
Alonso said it the second, the second after they were done.
Well, the Mets have a culture problem, and I think he's like, you know what? This is a clown show. I'm still relatively young. Maybe I can get a decent deal. He had a very good season.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm interested if
I would
want to go
him.
there. Yeah,
he's what I'm talking about. A big home run hitter. That's what we need.
It was super appealing to me last winter, even opposed to Bregman, because I'm like, you put Alonso right behind Devers, man, that's potent, and you got Bregman, and it is what it is. I'm not saying it was a bust, but it wasn't $40 million, and so, but I think he's going to be forced to opt in. I think he's in a similar boat that JD Martinez was in. Just not quite worth what they're looking for. And he's getting paid so much next year that it's just not worth taking, a $22 million a year salary. Yeah. I don't think there's any shot Bregman opts out.
I could fix the Sox in 3 moves.
All right, let's hear it.
It's not going to happen, but here's the 3. Sign Alonso, sign Tucker, trade for Skubal.
Tucker's a lefty, so I'm not
Terry,
really
I don't care. He's a World Series champion who's better than anyone we have.
I don't like it. For the money, I don't like it.
It's not your money, Terry.
I like... Well, it can still handcuff you and hurt you in the draft.
We are handcuffed at this point. We just lost to the Yankees.
All right, so I like Johnny's idea better.
Which Johnny's on, dear?
Johnny Fontaine.
No. What was his idea?
Suarez or Alonso, but hear me out. Sign them both. And I think you're relatively fixed at that point. If some reason Schwarber doesn't sign, and I know he's a lefty, and I'm sort of contradicting myself.
Yeah, I was about to say, what are we talking about here?
But I think Schwarber's a better value than Tucker, though, for 3 or 4 years. So I want Schwarber all day over.
Oh, but listen, I'm not getting into the economics of this. I'm talking about strictly just player results. The other part of this, and this is where I'm going to give a little pushback of why mine's better than Johnny's. Although Johnny's, you kind of tweaked it. That's not what Johnny said, so this isn't against Johnny. I included a solution to the pitching because you know what? Hitters are great. Yankees have gone into many seasons with the best hitters and not won a damn thing because the pitchers weren't very good. I think there's got to be a balance there. And if we had Skubal, and then you inserted Alonso, Tucker, or whatever, Suarez, whoever, that fixes the Sox.
Yeah, adding him back-to-back Cy Young fixes a lot of teams.
Yeah. Well, listen, I didn't say I wasn't a no-brainer slam dunk. That's why I said I could fix him.
I think for Scooble, I'd just rather wait and let him be a free agent and just sign him for money. Honestly.
Yeah, but you know what though? If I have a feeling the Tigers know he's going to walk, and I don't think they're going to have a ton of leverage because I also think Scooble is not going to just agree to go to any team because I think the way things have gone with the Tigers, he's going to want to win. And not that we're a much better situation. The thing is, though, knowing you're going behind Garrett Crochet makes it a pretty damn good situation. We also have a lot of young prospects and a lot of guys that we can offer that other teams just can't, that you could package. And guys that, like, honestly, we may not have room for because, you start adding some of the guys that we're talking about, like Duran becomes expendable, Abreu becomes expendable, some of our prospects become expendable. I mean, the sky's the limit if the Sox want to make it happen, and we have the money to do it. You're not paying Devers. There's no one really long-term committed to on this team that's not a reasonable deal. So that's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't rule out the Tigers definitely not signing him.
Well, he has to agree to that, Terry.
Well, it would. I mean, he would probably have to have a record deal, is what it's going to take.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Then I have another solution. Paul Skeens. At this point, I'm not even kidding you. Give them anyone they want. There's not one name you could throw at me that I'd say no.
I wouldn't give up Anthony.
Yeah, I would.
I'm not giving up Anthony.
How do you look in the playoffs, Terry?
Well, I don't. I'm willing to chalk that up as a flukish thing. I don't think he's going to be as bad as Meyer in terms of durability, but he's just a general, and you've got him under control for so long now. I just can't give up Anthony, but outside of him, I would definitely trade Meyer, Campbell, the password. Any of them are fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to trade Connolly early, weirdly, because you need good, young, cheap pitching.
For Paul Skeens?
All right. Well, for Skeens, I would, I guess. But
I was like, wait.
You got him.
And I get listen, me personally, there's not anyone I wouldn't. I get when people say Roman Anthony, they wouldn't. Just me personally, I'm always for proven talent. I think at this point, there's no one that's going to argue with me. Paul Skeens is more proven at his position than Roman Anthony, also more healthy. But I get the pushback with Roman Anthony. But as far as outside of that, because I'll concede that with someone, there is not. I don't want to hear any other name. There is no one on this team that you don't trade for freaking Paul Skeens. It's crazy.
I mean, honestly, there's nobody on the big league roster that I covet. I mean, you've got some decent pieces, but none of them are. If you sent, who's our two best hitters?
Roman
Anthony,
Story,
and Story, yeah.
Okay, now where would they be on the Dodgers lineup?
Roman Anthony would be batting.
Oh, did you say Anthony? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
All right, I thought you said. In my head, I heard it as Romy Gonzalez.
No.
Okay. Yeah, so Anthony would be up there, but
he'd be in the lineup. Yeah.
of
Hold on, we got Chris Wolf. You trade Crochet for Skeens? No, Chris. Obviously, I'm not trading Crochet. I'm trying to improve the pitching by getting Skeens. But I get your point. We said any name. But let me clarify that. Anyone besides Crochet, and for them, Roman Anthony. Next.
This is bad form, but Chris in the chat is probably one of the biggest dumbasses I've ever met on social media. So if tonight's the night to say that, then yeah. You don't trade Crochet, who's under control, just to blow up your farm and then have to give Skeens a $400+ million contract. Like, Chris, you're just. I hope your mother had some smart kids, but that was a dumb take.
He does love you, Terry.
That's what he says. And I'm not into dudes, so sorry. Anyway, so like I said, this team just isn't very good. There's a lot of moves that need to be made. You absolutely need at this point Campbell and Meyer and Anthony to all be healthy and productive and serviceable, and maybe only Anthony will be. I don't know. I think if you could put Meyer's talent and poise into Campbell's body, you would have a hell of a hitter
And then
there.
Campbell's health into both of them.
That's what I mean. One's got a brain problem, the other one's just got a physical health problem, you know? And so you just I don't know what you're getting. And if Alex Cora is still the manager, and I suspect he will be, I think Marcelo Meyer is going to be going right down Willier Abreu Avenue. And you're a platoon guy because I like to mix and match. And we're all over the road at this point with this show, but but I think Cora, in a weird way, likes this type of roster. I think he likes it. I think him manipulating stuff on a daily basis as far as the lineup goes, I think it makes him smart. And I think where he was a platoon guy, as Chris mentioned, I think he's got a soft spot for it. And you just can't do it. A platoon dynasty is not going to go deep in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. So I think the one concern I do have with Cora is, can he develop the kids, or is he gonna go to the spreadsheet and use them extremely analytically? And
I mean, we forget he did the same crap with Roman Anthony. It was just that Roman Anthony forced his hand because of the at bats that he had and the limited opportunities he was getting. Whereas Meyer struggled, Campbell was hot, but then struggled. I mean, God willing, or God forbid, if Roman Anthony would have struggled just as much as they did for the same duration, he would have been a Platoon Dynasty member probably, the way that Alex Cora runs this. And that's the point I had with Alex Cora, is that, you know what, there's a lot of good with Alex Cora. I don't want to completely dog him because, yeah, the sad part is he is probably still a top 5 manager in the AL for sure, maybe even the sport. But with this particular team, this roster, I think he's a detriment because it's just keeping us in this tumultuous turmoil of platoon dynasty, as Terry puts it, longer than it needs to be, because I think it's a great point and catch, Terry. I think in a sick sort of way, it's almost like it adds value to his ability to manage because he has to overmanage and compensate for such a poor roster construction. But the truth is he likes it.
And I just don't think that mindset with that type of roster is what we need. I think Cora at this point, in terms of running his course, is more cooked than Francona was after 2011. I just think his mindset is just so fundamentally flawed. We were not a good offensive team, and we were not a good defensive team. So I think this whole run this year was an illusion. And I think if the front office looks at it and says, you know what, it works so well. NESN ratings were up. That's another thing that sucks for all of us wanting the team to improve. I just think they're going to feel a sense of validation, and this is more of what we have. And the fascinating thing to watch is if Bregman does opt out. If I'm wrong and he does opt out, what do they do with the money? Because they didn't do anything with the Devers money. So I don't see them making the right investments to the roster.
No, they'll find a way to put more seats in Fenway. That's what they'll do with the money, Terry, because that'll give them immediate dividends on the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
You know, it was fun doing this. I'm going to say that.
Well, we're going to be very busy through, not every night, but 2 or 3 shows a week through December. So usually right around the end of December, the last of the names get signed. You'll still have 2 or 3 huge names out there because they want too much money, and they'll they'll all have a staring contest with all the teams until about the first week of spring training, and then finally get signed, just like Bregman this year. But
I
we'll
have
be
some
back.
final thoughts.
Okay.
I'm going to defend myself because I've been taking a lot of heat on Substack and Twitter from some of our quote unquote fans or people that just like to rip us for no reason. Keep in mind, I was 3 for 4 in my picks for the wild card round to the game, the way that I picked them. And technically, I was still right about this series because I picked the Yankees. So you guys crapped on me, my negativity, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, I was right. You were wrong. That's all I have to say, Terry. Thank you.
Well, I was right there with you. I picked.
No,
the
you
Yankees.
were.
Yeah.
But I did call the Padres. You guys picked the Padres.
If Durant could catch a fly ball, I would have been right.
Listen, I was hoping I was wrong on that one, but I mean, I'll take
I
the
think
win where I can.
that only would have tied it though. So
Well, we would have saved a run. It would have been.
Terry.
Story hit a home run the next inning.
Home runs a go ahead run,
Well,
and then if Eaton scores,
but you never know.
You win that game 4-3.
But you never know how it goes. But things would have been different for sure.
okay.
It was 2-2.
I'll let you have it. That's fine.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. But for everyone in the stream thanking us, we owe it all to you guys. Don't thank us. We thank you. And we're not going anywhere. Like I said, it won't really get slow until probably January, February. Doug and I are going to do a WWE show, talk about 90s. So we'll get creative. Some of the shows won't be for everybody, but we're going to continue to do it, and we're going to keep telling the story about the Boston Red Sox, and so we'll be right here. And we'll actually be back. I forget what the alignment is for tomorrow night, but we're going to make some predictions for the next round. So we still will be doing 1 or 2 shows a week for playoff coverage and all that. So I guess plan on that for the extremely short term. And then after the World Series, you got qualifying offers, opt-outs, options. And then you got the GM meetings in November. And not a ton of action happens there, but there is a lot of action at the winter meetings, which take place in December. So that's all we've got. We'll be back tomorrow night. Everyone, don't get too hungover, and if you have to call it sick tomorrow, there's no shame in that. Take care.